Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Listener Girl podcast, your go-to source for stories that matter the most in the LGBTQ plus community and beyond. I'm your host, Zach Randles-Friedman, and today's episode is, of course, a heavy one. We're talking about laws that could put lives at risk, a high-profile celebrity allegation making headlines, violence against trans women, and policies that are reshaping inclusion in real time. Some of these stories are disturbing, some are infuriating, and all of them deserve attention. So let's take a breath, settle in, and get into it. First, Idaho law forces outing of trans youth. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but we are starting in Idaho, where a new law is sparking serious concerns across the country. The law requires schools and doctors to report transgender students to their parents within days, with no exceptions. Supporters say this is about transparency and parental rights, but critics and many LGBTQ plus advocates are warning that this could be incredibly dangerous. Because here's the reality: not every home is safe. Not every parent is accepting. Forcing a young person to be outed before they're ready can lead to rejection, homelessness, or even violence. And don't forget, the LGBTQ plus suicide rate is much higher than non-LGBTQ plus children. Studies have consistently shown that LGBTQ youth face significantly higher risk of mental health struggles, especially when they lack family support. And what's especially alarming about this law is the lack of nuance. There are no protections built in the case where disclosure could put a child in harm's way. This isn't just policy, it's personal, and for many, it's terrifying. Our next story is a follow-up from a story I did yesterday about the Katy Perry investigation after Ruby Rose allegations. A major celebrity story that's making headlines worldwide, pop star Katy Perry is reportedly being investigated by police following sexual assault allegations made by actor and activist Ruby Rose. Authorities in Australia confirmed that they are investigating the historical incident that allegedly took place in Melbourne back in 2010. The accusations surfaced after a social media exchange where Ruby Rose claimed that Perry assaulted her at a nightclub. Rose later provided more graphic details in a follow-up post describing an alleged non-consensual encounter. Now, Katy Perry's team has strongly denied the allegations, calling them categorically false and reckless lies. So where does that leave us? Right now, this is an active investigation, and it's important to hold space for both due process and seriousness of claims. These situations are complicated, but they also highlight the broader issue of accountability, power dynamics, and how sexual assault allegations are handled in the public eye. Now we go to the Miss America bans trans women. Let's move into Miss America organization, where it is facing major backlash after clarifying its eligibility rules. The organization now states that contestants must be naturally born female. That means trans women are explicitly banned. Intersex women must undergo surgery to compete. Officials say the policy was updated for consistency and fairness, but critic argues it's exclusionary and discriminatory. This comes after political pressure, including a letter from Florida Attorney General threatening legal action if trans women were allowed to compete. And this isn't just about pageants, it's about visibility, identity, and who gets to be recognized as a woman in public spaces. For many LGBTQ plus community, this feels like a step backwards. Next, we go to the murder of Devonta Curtis. So this is a tragic story. Devonta Curtis, a 31-year-old Black transgender woman, was found dead in her Chicago apartment after suffering multiple blunt force injuries. A 24-year-old man has been charged with her murder. According to prosecutors, he allegedly searched online for ways to kill someone before the attack and was later found with Curtis' car keys and a weapon. There is currently no confirmed motive, but what makes this story even more painful is that it's not isolated. Black trans women continue to be disproportionate levels of violence in the U.S., and too often their stories are underreported or worse, misreported. Even in death, Curtis has initially misgendered in some coverage. This is why visibility matters. This is why respect matters. And this is why these stories need to be told. And I have to say, as a person that reports LGBTQ plus news nearly 7 days a week, I am so tired of saying negative stories about transgender people. I really hope we get to a point in the news cycle where it's not all negative. So I will start searching harder for those because it makes me literally almost sick to my stomach to keep reporting on these negative stories. Next, Senegal enforces anti-LGBTQ plus law. It's a story I covered a few weeks ago in international news. Senegal has issued its first conviction under the newly strengthened anti-LGBTQ plus law. A 24-year-old man has been sentenced to 6 years in prison and fined thousands of dollars. This marks a rapid escalation in enforcement and a chilling message for LGBTQ plus people in the region. Human rights groups are raising alarms, warning that harsher penalties could lead to increased persecution and fear. So this person, this 24-year-old man, was living his authentic life, and now he's in prison and paying thousands of dollars. Insane. Next, nuns sue New York over LGBTQ plus patient rights. So in the United States, a group of nuns in New York is suing the state over LGBTQ plus protections in healthcare. The law in question requires long-term care facilities to respect patients' gender identities, including access to appropriate bathrooms and accommodations. The nuns argue this violates their religious freedom and free speech. The case highlights an ongoing tension in America. Where do we draw the line between religious liberty and the rights of LGBTQ individuals to receive respectful, affirming care? I mean, they're nuns and they're supposed to care about everyone, aren't they? Seems like that's not happening at that hospital. Next, anti-LGBTQ plus lawyer disbarred. In California, attorney John Eastman, known for his role in efforts to overturn the 2020 election, has been disbarred. The state Supreme Court upheld findings that he made false and misleading statements and engaged in misconduct. While this case isn't solely about LGBTQ plus issues, Eastman has been associated with broader political movements that have impacted LGBTQ plus rights. And this decision signals accountability, at least within the legal system. Now in Tennessee, lawmakers have passed the controversial Charlie Kirk Act. The law would prevent universities from limiting speakers with controversial or bigoted views, penalize students who protest these speakers, protect speech targeting LGBTQ plus identities. Critics say it creates a hostile environment for LGBTQ plus students and limits their ability to push back against harmful rhetoric. Supporters argue it protects free speech, but again, we're seeing a pattern. Policies framed as freedom that may come at the cost of safety and inclusion. I don't understand how this is free speech because you're not allowing. You're going to penalize students who protest these speakers. Isn't that free speech? I mean, if they're not doing anything violent, this act or law makes zero sense. Tennessee is becoming one of the most bigoted states that we have. These are the stories, and they are a lot. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, you are not alone. This is exactly why the Listen Up Girl podcast exists, because these stories deserve attention. These voices deserve amplification. And this community deserves to be informed, empowered, and seen. If this episode resonates with you, please share it. Please make a comment. The more comments you make, the more people see, and talk about it and start conversations, because awareness leads to change. And I will be back tomorrow with more LGBTQ plus news. Thank you so much for listening.